So some Kotointi mikol chasadim. So the kudde here is that the letter which the Rebbe writes, a very strong letter, that Chas v'Shalom feel lisrek aleim, and the figure explains that this lisrek aleim is the ahav kedusha, even that not. So the Rebbe is saying that since he wrote this, and he writes top of the letter, actually he didn't. This is written by the Rebbe's children. He wrote this after its introduction to the letter in Tanya. It says in the top of the letter. But he did write it as soon as the whole union of this kislev happened. So as we explained, it's not just measures to be taken to contain the exuberance and of the chassidim and probably the willingness or the desire to take revenge. So it wasn't just a tactical letter, but in this letter is the whole teichen of chassidus. Because the whole union of it, this kislev brought out the shemen, even compared to an olive, so through Yidden, when they are pressed, so this brings out the oil. Now, oil is a metaphor of Torah B'chalal, with the obvious arechos, but on Shem and Turak Shnacha, we, the Medrash explains it for us, like for us, your oil, the oil of your name flows out, not just the Reach, because it's post-Matan Torah, and Chassidus, the Proteus is the union of Shem. And this was all elicited after reading this kislev. So if you write such an union, it means that this is the taken of Chassidus. Mizem movements by number 12, footnote 12 in the. Yeah, we have the same page numbers as Nina. You definitely know. Let's put footnote 12. What page number do you have? 222. Huh? 222. No. Because you have from the whole translation, my modern so Mizem moving should begin as Zoom of Klol singing Haveda Chassidus. So it's understood that this letter, which is the result of it, this kislev, explains the general Haveda Chassidus. Hen benegel kav the Sumera, hen benegel kav the Vasito, both in Sumera, what not to do, and benegel what yes to do. And moreover, hen benegel avedim atzmai, likewise aved with oneself. Hen benegel apul al azulas, everything. Likewise, in our effect on the other, it's all laid down here. The foundation of this igeres. Heinrich benegel avedis atzmai. So now spelling it out, it comes to the way with the self. So how is his expression as asay doing good? So how does it have to be? Your inyan Kotointi mikol chasad. I become small because of all of the chesed. Shebakol chesed shakdos baruch chesed Adam. Every chesed they does to a person, the greater the chesed, the greater the lowliness, as it were, the humble spirit. So that's Pasha thing of humility, gratitude, tremendous humility and gratitude. No sense of entitlement and so. And how does it express itself in turning away from evil? Mashakasa is that the writes in the letter, not to exalt their hearts over their brethren. So that's Benegeya, Asaytev, and Surmila. Likewise, in terms of affecting another, that's also laid out in the Rebbe's letter. And that's integral to our Aveda, in brackets, because of Avos Yisrael. We have to affect another. It's not just another mitzvah, but the great principle. On the words of Hillel, not to do what is hateful to yourself, what is hateful to you, not to do to another, said Hillel, that is the whole Torah, the best is commentary. as explained in the Sikhs, the difference between these two units. At any rate, it's the whole Torah. Shagam, what? Affecting another. So there too, Shagam being in Zen is Bible, Beis HaKaf, in the Summit of Asitoi. Here too, the Alter Rebbe addresses the positive dimension and the negative dimension. He mentions the pasuk, that a soft response turns away anger. So that is Hakav the Sumira. That is the union of Sumira, of turning away the negative. Cows it down with mind Rach, a soft response. Then the Alter Rebbe adds, and perhaps Hashem will give into their hearts and will be kamayim upon him, and they will respond to the love that the Chassidim will show to them, like the water reflects the face that's shown before it. So that's what Kav Dasei Toiv, that's the positive, the actual kiruv, in Mekar of them, in Mekar of their brethren.
How was the commandment?
If you're showing Av, that's
commandment upon him,
then they will respond back with
they're showing a face that they're really not showing. So
say hopefully that would happen. It will happen that way, that the face that you're showing, that is Ava, will elicit Ava. So the Rebbe's analyzed the letter and shown us that the letter, that the Avodah of Kotointi, and the Vilti Roim Levovam and so on. So in the Alter Rebbe's choice words is the Avodah with self, and the Avodah that's required in Ashpa and the other, in both areas of Asei Toiv and Sumera. Yeah? Yeah. So I love Masha Kosa Begetter Sanal, that to understand that what she writes in this Begetters. So the Alter Rebbe says that being in Shlilas HaChesed Yishmael. The Alter Rebbe contrasts this and negates, and it shouldn't be like the Chesed of Yishmael, that the more Hashpah he gets, the more arrogant. Now, who's he talking to? Says that the Rebbe in the square bracket, he's saying that it shouldn't be by you, by Yid, you shouldn't be like Yishmael. But by a Yid could be. He's not saying them, you. That you should not be like that. That Ashpa just causes boastfulness and pride. Therefore, the Alter Rebbe has to negate this because this could happen to you. What's the question? It's a disarmingly simple question. The word for it. A question that that uproots the foundation, but it's just very simply almost in its naivete. How could this be? It's a question you don't think of, in other words, but when brought to your attention. Thank you. And that is, how could it be? How could Yeshes be a keli for and be for chesed? For Ashpa chesed in the Maila. If there's a simple question, if there's Yeshes, the matter, then there can be no Ashpa chesed, the Maila. Ashpa only happens when it's bittul. What?
You do it, but nevertheless, it's really.
What?
What is the question? That means that
the keli for likus is bittul. That's obvious. So if there's Yeshes, there can't be Ashpa. It's how the Yeshes, the Efshali is in Shel Ashpa klal. How is it? It's talking about likus, being Ashpa of the Eibush to being Mashpia. So how is the Eibush to Mashpia mitzad the inyan of Yeshes?
Anything actually good coming from
what?
The chesed? Do you mean anything actually good coming from the chesed? Like the chesed of Yishmael? Nothing good comes from that?
Well, the chesed is good, but he abuses it. But how does he get the chesed? How does he get it?
Who says he gets it?
How's Yeshes a keli for chesed the L'mayla?
Who says he gets it? He's just giving it, but he's not getting it.
He's because he's getting it. He's matzliach. He's growing. He's getting tremendous chesed, money and health and wealth and riches and fame and fortune. Tremendous chesed.
So how any self-serving chesed could bring anything?
How any Yeshes the matter could be a recipient of chesed the L'mayla? Eibusha says about a Balgaiver, Ein ani v'hu yochel lodur. We can't dwell in the same place. There's no room for me. So that's the question. How's there room for the Eibusha's chesed if the person is full of yeshes? Even the most subtle form of he says he's not going to use the chveis. Sure, that question would be he's going to use the ashpah to hurt others. Sure, such a kasha.
What's the type of these guys?
But even, I'm going to say, even not only to be boastful, just to feel good about it all, to show off his wealth and fame and fortune, not abusive about it. He's just taking pride. That's also not a keli fashba of chesed. Even that kind of yeshes, not a yeshes that's necessarily abusive. Certainly not a keli. But I feel it could look at this.
So the question is not on the act. The question is on the result.
No. The question is on the ashpa. How is God giving this to a place of yeshes? Not a keli. It's a question on the Lamaila.
Question on Lamaila is how is the person who is doing something wrong getting something good?
Not saying wrong.
Or
Yeshes,
doing something. Yeah. How is it possible that he can even do it? What's the question?
The question is simple. To get ashbal, any ashbal needs an empty keli. What's empty? Empty is bittul. So bittul is a keli for ashbal from above. Yeshes is not. How is yeshes a keli? Simple. Now the standard at what?
It's similar to like the guy who's learning for self-serving purposes. Is he's still learning, but he's not affecting anything. But he's learning.
Who's talking about affecting him? Why are you talking about affecting?
The man who's receiving the donation or the kindness from this self-serving
not that
person
the mashpia
is getting it.
The
The question is now on the mashpia who's self-serving. How is he getting hashpah?
The question is on the Maila, on the Eibishter. How are you giving hashpah, chesed, the Maila to a place of yeshes? Now the standard answer to it's a simple question. It's dishonorably simple. There's no room for it. Person.
There's no room for a person to do a bad.
Kedusha cannot rest in a place of yeshes.
We're not talking the hashpah that we're giving of chesed.
No, it's not hashpah.
But it's still a mitzvah, right? To give, let's say, tzedakah with no intent
or insult it.
We still consider that a mitzvah. So
Yes.
there's.
if he's doing, so what you're saying is, so you're asking is if he's going to do, but that comes later, and if he does, fine. How does he get it? Right now he's getting it. He's in the matzav of yeshes. How is that a keli for elikus being nimshach chesed to the mile being nimshach?
Check anything, any place where there's no kavana or anything. I mean,
There's no bittul. Should not be a keli for hashpah of chesed. Hashem creates it for his purpose, fine. But chesed, God's grace. How? Let's make it use English. How is God's grace bestowed upon a person who is full of self? There's no room for his grace. Even with the non-Jew says grace, that they bow their head, hold their hands together. You understand? If you're receiving God's grace, the only way to do that is humility.
Let me ask the question even more. How is it possible for someone to do something which is not good, which is really self-serving? The question is even bigger.
Why not? No kasha on the person. The person has bchira, and they can do mitzvahs and exploit them. It's not a kasha. We do it all the time. Kasha is not on the person. The kasha is on the ashpah to the mind. The standard answer is, which is clearly the Rebbe is not saying here, is that it comes to the Tzimtzum, it comes to Klippa. The ashpah of chesed to places of Klippa itself comes through Klippa. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. It's not B'chinas Acharayim. I'm not giving the standard answer that Klippa get B'chinas Acharayim, and they get a lot of it, but Hashem's eclipse they're talking. It's not chesed the kedusha. They're getting chesed the klippa, the chatchila. I'm not saying that. Here he's saying, because he's talking to a Yid, and the implication here is that the chesed we're talking about, the chesed Yishmael here, as it applies to a Yid, is chesed the Kedusha. So in what way, in heaven's name, can there be yeshes? On what level? That's a kelim mamash for chesed the Kedusha. That's the kasha of the mind. Are we clear? Gam tzarich lahavim also have to understand Mashe Shoylel Ha'inyan the listik aleim chas v'shalom. Not even to whistle. Shekavon b'zeh gam lisrika 5 the kedusha. In 10 years, even the whistle of kedusha, the aha of kedusha, the victory of kedusha. What?
You have the word gam.
Yeah. No. You can say it. Okay. Also. Not just a negative one, but even a positive one. Never, by the way, introduced way after this, h'tשכ Gimel, but whistling by the Fabrenger, and there was a whole outcry in the Torah world. Chal Yidden don't whistle because the Romans, after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, the victory parades, there was whistling, the singing, the whole. So even though it was, they've addressed it. They've addressed it what that meant for Bengals and Australia stuff. This is the Srika, the 5 of Kedusha. Who was the Rebbe's whistler, Rebbe turned to him. You see on the Fabrengens and this, he was sitting up there at the top. And he wrote a wonderful book called The Possible Man. It's a pretty, you ever saw the book? Didn't make wide, he told me he had plans to make a whole movie, and it didn't happen. He fell ill. He brought macrobiotics to America, that was his big thing. Very popular in Montreal. We had him as a speaker in Chamonix. An unforgettable Shabbos. He was a great dancer. It was the most magical Shabbos. If you knew him, you were friends with him. He's a wonderful person. He comes from a long side and great Gedol in Kabul in Morocco. So, at any rate, so he describes there. There's an exquisite paragraph describing the whistling and his lungs bursting, and at the end, how imagery, very poetic, like horses snorting after a battle. And after the whistling, they start the sikha, heaving, this is what the battle against the world, that pfeifaffen, in Chassid's expression, the pfeifaffen Welt, to whistle. The whole world is this expression of whistle is, it's nothing. It's a pfeif of Kedusha. And the snorting after the battle, that wasn't just entertainment. This was tremendous avodah. He describes how he would.
He used to take a deep breath and he used to whistle, and he was.
So you have to read how he describes it.
How he describes himself.
The imagery of the horses snorting after the battle. That's a powerful imagery. Standing there after, trying to catch his breath back. So that's Kedusha. That's the Srika Shel Kedusha. Here the Alter Rebbe is saying, not even that. Why not? So there is place for this avodah, but here the Alter Rebbe is laying down the foundations. It's not there. Since it's the whistle of holiness, the victory, the aha, the triumph. It's a triumphant whistle, the triumph of Kedusha over the adversary. What's this got to do with Chesed Yishmael? What's this Kedusha?
Here you're talking about what is pile the hashpa of the chesed, right? In the Alter Rebbe's letter, talking about what the chesed is pile. The chesed of Kedusha is pile betel. The chesed of klipa is pile But so why is it?
Yeah, so that's if we talk a little the letter always. It's a shpaf clipper, but it's not a shot in the letter. We're talking to a yid, and if we're saying that chesed yishmol applies to you, it means in the world of pollution. It's for the mind. It's not another portion. But even the portion of the pshat, how does he not being yishmol? He's not yishmol. He's not yishmol. Yishmol, that's what happens to not to yid. Surely. And he says, yeah, it could be. Even in the Avodah of Kedusha, there is the thing of Chesed Yishmol. And he says, no, that's not the Seder. It's Yadz the Brekchak. Avonah b'zeh b'negel Isha Yisraeli. Shachli is etz loy in the Chesed v'Chesed Yishmol. Like. So how could it even be like Chesed Yishmol? So he's asking this. There is. He's saying, in other words, there is this avodah in kedusha. There is. However, the Alter is negating it. That's the foundations of the avodah. It has no place. We have to understand this. Yeah. Next, ice base. Even the behefte mamavur look at the Torah the maschel eretz harim of goys. So understand this by first prefacing what he says in the Kotointi in the pasuk in Pashas Eiken. The land, it's all described as a land of hills and valleys. So a hill is a projection, and a valley is a recess. There is more. He elaborates more than on that which he speaks about in this Igeres. He begins to explain to the Alter Rebbe in the Kotointi, Eretz Knesset Yisrael, Eretz is Malchus, and that's Knesset Yisrael. Where do you see the connection, mamish, to the earth? Well, be my Baal Shem Tov al Pasuk. This is based on the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov of the Pasuk. The Pasuk says in Malachi, Tiyu atem the Eretz Chayfetz, that you are unto me a land of desire. Quoted in Hayom, like one of the famous Hayom. So the Alter Baal Shem Tov says, but he's so nimshul la'aretz hayidna compared to the earth Hashem she'ba'aretz tumunim oitzres avim, just like the earth contains great treasures. No one can dig to its depth in Yiddish. Sich der Grunteven und der Graben to get to dig to the very core and depth of the earth. And no one can deplete the earth and reveal all of its treasures. So they're endless. So likewise, the Marlis by Yidden, you just have to dig, because he goes into Seder, it just all depends on the desire of the digger to discover these inexhaustible treasures. Now, in more detail, so the earth itself has hills and valleys. So at its heart of goyers, so this is that the Etzisol described as a land of hills and valleys, mountains and valleys. Knesset is so Eretz by Eden, which are called Eretz, Yeshlam Horim of goyers. So what's a mountain and what's a valley? So a mountain, again, is a projection, and a valley is a recess. Horim, so a hill, that is love. Love is I love. Love is expressive. Love is embracive. Embracing. Yeah. Embracing. Shehi b'chinas chaysim boilets. He speaks in the Kotointi and many places in Chassidus about two kinds of ring or two kinds of seal, more specifically, two kinds of seal. So the seal is made in the clay. So one way is, so the seal itself, the imagery is projected, and then you press it into the clay, then what's projected in the seal becomes recessed in the clay. Or the other way, the seal is recessed, and you put that in the clay, so that's going to make the image project from the clay. So what does this mean? Ruchni is, so now we're saying, first of all, that chaysim, the seal that protrudes, that's av, because that's expressive. I love. That's why you find the association that Avram, he called Hara Maria, he calls it what? A mountain, because that's his avodah. His avodah is Av. Okay, the Pirish Maimon Azal Aiden Kirin Lovers Elish Loish. So the Chazal say when it comes to the forefathers, we start by the first three. We don't consider the Shvatim, the Ovis. There's many ramifications. Ovis, founding fathers, which means that their properties are inherited by every Yid. That's only true of the Ovis, not true of the Shvatim. The Shvatim have separate avodas, and if you're a member of Shevet of one, a member of one Shevet, which everybody is, then your avodah is that Inyan, and Lav Dafke, the avodah of another Shevet. But Ovis is Shloisha. Every Yid has all these three Inyanim. Therefore, all of the Inyanim that by the Ovis, so this is bequeathed to every Yid. Has to be by every Yid. Therefore, number one, every Yid has to have, and it does exist. By every Yid, the avodah of love, which is symbolically the mountain, it's expressive. This is a seal that protrudes. And the inyan of what? Of a valley, which is the other description of Eretz Yisrael. So a valley is recessed into the ground. So that's the avodah of bittul, and all person steps back, retreats, and makes place. So this is a sunken seal. Avram also had this avodah. Again, every year, he said about himself, I am but dust and ashes. Specifically, doesn't go to it here, but specifically it's Yitzchak. And Yitzchak, what does he describe the same place as? It's all the same location. Field. And Yaakov is in the same location because of the bias. So there's the mountain, there's the sort of field that's consistent. The thing in the field is you dig, you plow the field. That's the of the chaysim shekeah, the sunken seal, right? But he's saying, but Avram also had this avodah of bittul. And the fact, why does the pasuk use the plural, mountains and valleys in the plural? Because both of these avodas, in brackets, av and yira, is kama madregas. There are many levels. And in each of the two levels of av and yira, in general, they divide into two categories, and they are avazutta v'avarab. There is small love and great love. Likewise in fear, lower fear and higher fear, which he's now going to explain. That's the plural of harim ufkars. As it's known being dalad oisa shemavaya. The four letters of shemavaya, shehem, they are techilo. It's from the highest levels going down, basically. Yud K Vav K. So the Chilo is Yirei Ilah, the higher fear. The first Tay is the higher love. The Chilo, the Vav is the lower love. But the Chilo and the final Hey is the lower fear. Clear? Yeah. So what did he establish till now? He established that to understand the whole Inyan that Rabbi is talking about, this whole bittul that is so uncompromisingly demanding, not even a srika, the whistle of Kedusha. So to understand all of this, he introduced the Inyan of what? The Yidden, the avodah of Harim of Kois, the avodah of Ave and Yira, and the conclusion is that there's two dargas in each one. Two dargas in Ave and two dargas in Yira, hence the plural bottom of course, and we also learned that thinking of mountain is expressive. That's the seal that protrudes, and Yira is thinking of represented by the seal that is recessed, and that's critical because, as he goes on to say, the protruding seal causes a recess, and the sunken seal causes expression. Causes, right, to explain that.
So two ways of Aish and Mayim.
Aish and Mayim?
Yeah. So he explains that.
What?
He explains in Kotointi that these are two ways of Aish and Mayim.
No, generally, yeah. Aish is here. Depends.
Aish is Ava.
There's different times.
And Mayim is here.
Some there's other way.
Oh, there he explains.
There's different diets. So let's okay. So let's explain this. So that this all again also to explain how a matzah of Yishmael, what's Yishmael the Kedusha? That's really the question. Is Yishmael the Kedusha? How can there be Yishmael the Kedusha? How can there be a Yeshes that is holy, that is Mamshich Chesed? That was the question.
Who said it's Kedusha?
Huh?
Who says it's Kedusha?
That's the whole kasha. That was the whole question. The whole question is, how is Yeshes a Keli Fashpa? He's going to explain now that in Kedusha there is Avodah of Yeshes. There is a Keli Fashpa. That's where he's going now. So the Amshachas that come from above, which are elicited through the Avodah of our Avodah down here. That's like a seal, which is inverted. That means to say that the seal affects the opposite of what the seal is. If the seal protrudes, it produces a recess. If the seal is recessed, it produces that which protrudes. Let's see. So if the Avodah V'Yidis Chaysim Boilet, the protruding seal, which we said, what is Avodah of Ava? Mamshich Milamayla, B'chinas Chaysim Shekeya. So the illicit, what the response, when you put into the clay, you cause an indent. What does that mean? So the Yid is mamshich from above the seal that's sunken. What does that mean? They avoided the Ava through the avodah of Ava. The Jew is expressing himself. I love you. I love you. I love you. So it elicits the sunken response. So he draws down a level of a likus, a lot that it comes away with Tzimtzum and is sunken and absorbed by him. That's sunken. Avodah of Ava elicits a sunken, absorbed level of a likus that's contained, sunken. What happened? A recess, a keli is full, right? The protruding seal makes a sunken imagery in the clay. So the avodah of Ava elicits ashpa that is nimshach b'pnimius into the person, to the world. Clear? Are we clear in that imagery? Huh? The opposite is coming in a second. I can't speak up. I'm sorry, I don't hear you.
Embossed and debossed, right?
Could be.
Rabbi?
Yeah?
I understand how you say it causes a recess. But why did you say it goes into Pneumius?
Yeah.
That's what it means. It's drawn into the Pneumius of the Keli. It's Akbala Dika Oyer that can be contained by an absorbed and experienced by the Keli. That's what recess means, contained. Literally, the causes these recesses. A keli, wash it in it can be filled. You can fill it with liquid. You can fill it with stuff. A seal that makes the imprint in the in the unformed clay.
Our avodah
So our avodah of Ava, which is avodah of Yeshes, Yesh is the Kedusha, I love God, and a necessary avodah. So what does it listen back? Hashpah, the Eibishter's love back in such a way that it's contained and experienced by the person.
Bika.
Huh?
Bika. Har elicits bika.
The opposite, it's the invert. The avodah which you do elicits kind of the opposite. You're expressive, therefore you receive that which you can contain. You're going out, you can receive that which you can take inwards. That's the opposite reaction. Let's look, we'll stop here, it's already late. But we'll see tomorrow it continues the avodah of Yira, which is the chatchila, the avodah of bittul within self. And that elicits the opposite response in the L'mayla. The obligva, which is not contained in Kate. You see the opposite, so we'll understand that the impact.
That's why